Hi guys, I'm Yasmeen. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Diamondback.
I'm Josh Vitale. I'm one of the sports editors of the Diamondback.
And we're here to talk about Maryland's move to the Big Ten, which was announced Monday. There's obviously a lot of implications to this. So, Josh, I think the thing people are talking about most is what it means for the sports teams. Maryland's been a part of the ACC for 59 years. From your perspective, what do you think it means and how do you feel about it?
It's an interesting move, and when the move first happened, I was pretty down on it. I thought, football's already struggling. Putting them in a conference at the Big Ten that's so successful in football was going to hurt them more. The ACC, I think, is on its way to becoming the premier basketball conference in the nation, and you leave that before it even becomes that way with Syracuse, Pitt, and Notre Dame on their way into the ACC. But looking deeper into it, it doesn't seem like the worst move. They're going to take a hit in non-revenue sports, men's soccer, women's soccer, field hockey, especially men's and women's lacrosse, where the Big Ten doesn't have a conference. They're all going to take a hit because the ACC is the premier conference for all those sports. But for football, it's going to be eventually a boom because, Big Ten's been so successful and the ACC hasn't been. And men's basketball, currently, 3 of the top 5 teams in the country are from the Big Ten, so that conference obviously is respectable in that sport. But I think the biggest issue here, and the one people are talking about less, obviously, is the financial one. And I think you should probably address that now.
Yeah, I've been covering that aspect since last year before the teams were cut when the report came out about just how badly the athletic department's been doing for the last few years. It's a department that's been losing money at least since 2006, since ticket sales started going down in basketball and football. And you have this offer now where, if you're a member of the ACC, you're making about $17 million a year from the contract with ESPN. Big Ten schools are making $24 million this year just for being a member. It's a revenue-sharing conference. Maryland doesn't have to worry about selling tickets, which, quite honestly, it hasn't been doing consistently for the last few years. You don't have to worry about a department's recovery that's contingent on ticket sales. So you've got this financial future secured, and I think from an administrative standpoint, that's way too good of a deal to turn away from. When you're talking about this department that's barely staying afloat, that had to cut 8 teams, that's worried it might have to cut more in the future. Now you're basically saying you have all this money, it's going to be there no matter what, and you can even bring back some of the teams that were cut. And there's all these academic benefits that are definitely not being talked about a lot. The Big Ten has this consortium where they can all collaborate and share resources and databases and programs and study abroad programs. So there's a lot of benefits. From a financial standpoint, there's no question that it's the right move. But there's also a lot of implications for the teams, the recruits, the coaches. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for them because it's obviously a change, something they're not used to. Sasho Swarovski in soccer has been coaching the ACC as long as he's been here. Missy Mahar, 25 years in the ACC. It's an adjustment. But for those sports, I don't think it will be that big of a deal because, yes, they downgrade in the conference, but they're still, premier teams in their sport. They'll still recruit the same way, especially locally. I think the biggest issue is going to be with football because football now, they get the talent pool from the South because they're playing in North Carolina every year. They're playing in Florida every year. They're playing at Clemson in South Carolina every year. And they get to that recruiting ground. Now that changes and they have to go to, Iowa and Ohio State or Ohio and Michigan, states they don't generally recruit in. Since 2005, Maryland has only brought in 4 football recruits from Big Ten states other than Pennsylvania. So they're not accustomed to recruiting there, and that's going to be something that has to change. But in the long run, I think the coaches will be able to handle it. It's not that big of a shift, in terms of getting recruits, preparing for the level of competition. Because we talked to some recruits yesterday, Lexi Brown from women's basketball and a few others, and they don't seem too miffed by the change. Edsel said a lot of his football recruits that he talked to yesterday weren't bothered by the move. So in the long run, I don't think it'll be that big of a deal.
Thanks for joining us. This story will continue developing, so keep checking the Diamondback for more updates.